Hey everybody, I'm Devin Siebold here with James Yon. We got a new episode of Crying in My Car, a podcast for teachers coming up next. We talk about locking the doors in your school. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? What school districts are doing it? We also talk about Kanye West's new school where you want to lock the doors to keep Kanye out. And then we finally talk about a lot of amazing teachers in our lives and all the appreciation that teachers deserve. Be sure to tune in to this episode of Crying in My Car, a podcast for teachers. Hey everybody, we're here with a new episode of Crying in My Car, a podcast for teachers. My name is Devin Siebold. I've got my good buddy, Mr. James Yon. He's a parent, he's a comedian, I was a teacher, and I'm also a comedian. We're here to make you laugh and hopefully ease that stress of the teacher work day. Be sure to rate us 5 stars on whichever iPod or iTunes or whatever app you use. Yeah. And also don't forget to follow us online, CIMC Podcast on Instagram, and all the other ones are Crying in My Car, and we hope to see you interacting there. Leave some comments and be sure to share all the news articles that you find, because I know that the most popular part of this podcast is definitely the teachers in the news. Now, also, don't hesitate to reach out with some of your stories. Like somebody this week reached out to James with a particular story that they had about their school. Now, James, what did this teacher have to say?
Okay, before we do that, I just want to thank everybody for following us on Crying in My Car on Instagram. We're getting a lot of followers, man. We're getting a lot of views. I'm very happy. And I will say that some of you get very spicy in the comment section.
Spicy. Yeah.
But we welcome all that. Any interactions, good
That's his way of saying hate speech. We see you. We flagged you.
Yeah, we are.
By the way, keep following. We need those numbers.
No,
we're fine with that.
Well, we had a young lady, speaking of people in our comments, actually reach out. Her name is Bridget. She's an educator in New York.
New York.
And she's a bit concerned. She says in New York, there is 1,851 buildings, 1.1 million students, and 75,000 educators.
Yeah, I'd be concerned too. That's a lot.
That's a lot, right? Yeah. Her concern, that's so funny, right? You take the ones on the left.
Yeah.
I'll take the ones on the right. Her concern is they're not allowed in New York to lock their doors during the day. And the reason they're not allowed to lock them, they say it's a safety thing if they need to escape. Her thing, and many of the educators feel that the reason they want to lock their doors is the rise in school shooters.
Right. Of course.
They're fearful. They are afraid every day. And we talked about it last episode about now our kids have the stress of going to school not knowing if they're safe.
No.
Which is horrible for them. Mm-hmm. So she's talking about the fact that the policy is this. When there's an active shooter, the front office will let you know, and that's your indication to lock your door. The problem with that is this. The front office is the first building you get to of the school.
Yeah.
So let's say an active shooter goes to the front of the building and God forbid something happens and they're not able to tell you.
No.
Where does that put the teachers and students?
Because, when I think about some of the most prominent school shootings that we've had in our history, Sandy Hook, they went right through the front office.
Yes.
And that's, you don't get a lot of response time in those particular instances.
It's going to be instantaneous. Especially with people with automatic weapons. Let's be honest, they can cover a larger area in a short amount of time.
Yep.
So I wanted to kind of get your feedback as a teacher. What do you think about locking doors?
Well, we have them automatically locked in our school district.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, it was standard across the board. Make sure your doors were locked. And they would do that sometimes. They do, all right, we're going on lockdown, and they would go on lockdown, and they came around and checked to make sure all the doors were locked. But our doors were already supposed to be locked. Sometimes they would just go around and open it and go, hey, this is supposed to be locked.
I love that, though.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because I don't know what you said this to protect, to give them a chance to escape.
Because they're thinking, what if a fire happens? What if they need to get out in a hurry and the door's locked?
But that's the thing is it locks from the outside, not the,
That's a good point. They make the doors where,
See, I would think that it's to give kids a chance to run into a classroom to get away. But you're also opening the door for the intruder.
That's right.
And I wouldn't feel safe in a room this day and age. I would not feel safe with a room not locked.
I was gonna say.
I was so adamant about that. I mean, my students can attest to this. I would literally check my door between every class. The students would come in, I'd reach around and go, bloop, 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 and I'd be like, okay, it's locked. And then it would close. And the students always knew Siebold's room is locked at all times. Gotcha. I'd have to get up. I'd have to let them in. We had a little window to where I could look through and make sure they're not, there to hurt the children in the room. It was definitely locked was the rule.
And now, I thought it should be that way, across the board. But go ahead.
I will say the only thing that I wish we would have done more of that I did not see is outside doors being locked.
To get into school.
Outside doors were never locked. Our fences were non-existent in that school. You could literally, at that particular school that I taught at, walk from the street directly into a building within maybe 50 feet. The door was open to go into the building from the street, 50, and there was no fences. You could just go.
Gotcha.
Just walk in. And that's the kind of stuff
scary.
I do not like. Now, I get it. Students got to go between buildings, but, maybe have I don't know. I don't know that there's a solution, but except for a giant fence around, I think for sure we needed a fence. But, there's some schools, though, that, man, they are hardcore.
Yeah.
Everything is locked. Outside doors are locked. Even my kids' school, when I go there, there's a Ring doorbell essentially in the front of the school. I have to press a button and show my license at the camera before I can even walk in, and then once I walk in, there's another door that's locked before the main school that they have to unlock too for you to go in. And then all the teachers' doors are locked. And if you go outside, you can't get back in. You gotta hope that somebody can, you gotta go around or whatever.
There you go. And I don't mean to, I don't mean to put this all on one area, but it's New York.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
but then again, I don't know of any school shootings in New York.
I don't know either. But I don't want to be on the side of, or if I was a teacher, I've never been a teacher.
Prevented.
It could have been.
You don't want to wait. We don't want to have something to talk about.
Yeah, and I would feel as a teacher, and I've never been one, of course, but I definitely salute all the things that you guys did as teachers. I would feel responsible for those students in my class.
You'd feel better too if you were a parent. And you knew that the door was locked, right?
Yes, I definitely would. I would be terrified if you told me, no, of course we don't lock doors. What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the thing, too. I remember specifically one of the school shootings. I remember they were talking about how the video of the student that was shooting went down the hallway and was testing the door. And the ones that were locked, they didn't go in. They couldn't get in. They didn't want to fight it. So they went to find the door that was unlocked, and then, that teacher has to, if something happened to your students, you have to rest with that. I didn't protect.
I would feel responsible for those kids in my class.
Yeah. I mean, that's a tough one. Now, one thing that we did do, which was quite possibly the stupidest thing I've ever seen, is after Sandy Hook, we had, it's so weird because we always have these quick responses. Mm-hmm. I remember after Columbine, all trench coats and jackets were banned.
I remember that.
I remember because I was a student and they were like, no trench coats, no long jackets. Some schools went to metal detectors. I remember that.
See-through backpacks.
That was one. We discontinued locker use. I remember that next year we did not have lockers.
At all.
The year before we had lockers, but you didn't have lockers. You had to carry all your stuff. So they had a better visual. You couldn't store something in the locker. Now, I remember the dumbest thing I've ever seen done.
Okay.
After Sandy Hook, the school district that I worked in did a safety sightline thing where they went into every school in the school district and put down tape on the ground to block off where somebody that was standing outside your door wouldn't be able to see you inside the classroom. So basically, let's say there's a door there's a slit, you look in and you look to the left and you look to the right. They taped off the sight line for the door so you could hide in that area.
Got it.
James, do you realize the sight line for my classroom was an area that was 2 feet by 4 feet?
So
for 32 children.
Okay, I was going to say.
So basically, we have to turn into 1930s Swedish weightlifters where everybody's on each other's shoulders and we're juggling bowling pins in order to escape an active shooter situation.
Or you pick out one good student.
There's nothing you can do.
Nothing you can do there.
I walked in and I was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah,
there was literally, and it was a big tape. It was just a big tape on the floor. And this is the thing. They did that, and then the summer came, and they had to clean the floors, so they took up the tape, and they didn't put it back down.
Of course not.
So how much money did we spend on this? To send somebody around to every single school and tape the floor of every single class and measure it out and go, okay, so they can't see over there. We're going to do this. I mean, of all the stupid solutions to this thing, and what are kids going to do? I mean, if there's an active shooter, of course you're going to hide.
Yes.
You're telling them, oh, just in this one small area. I just don't understand it.
I don't get it either, man.
And it never made any sense to me. The doors being locked made sense to me. The amount of money that they put into this thing, they could have easily built a fence. They could have put up metal detectors. I am all for things like metal detectors and active security inside schools if you are going to protect the kids.
That's right.
But, let's also address the gun issue. That's something.
Mum's the word here in Florida,
yes.
sir. Yeah.
Oh, they're in Florida, yeah. DeSantis is knocking on the door right now. Let me in. I'd like to talk. But what are you going to do? I mean, I don't think unlocked doors is the way to go.
I don't either.
This teacher was concerned?
She was very concerned. And she said that her and the teachers have tried, and it's fell on deaf ears. They've tried to talk to administrators. They've tried to talk to county commissioners and whatnot. And they're all like, no, this is the way to go.
Yeah, I don't agree with that, to be honest with you.
So thank you, first off, for sending that our way. We appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you got something like that in your school that your school's doing to combat gun violence, I'd love to hear it. I know I've seen different things, like, for example, silent buttons.
Yes.
I've seen that stupid door that they have at Alabama where you pull on the wall and a safe room comes out. Oh, give me a break. Come on. We're spending millions on safe rooms inside. How about make the room safe?
Yeah.
How about make the kids safe?
Yeah.
That is the safe room. Schools used to be the safe room.
They used to be.
What are we doing?
Right.
We're going so far back. It's anything to avoid the problem. And they know what the problem is. They just want to avoid it.
Thank you, Bridget.
Yeah, I know. So thank you so much for submitting that. And again, if you've got something to say, go ahead and send it to us at CIMC Podcast on Instagram. Message us, James John Comedian or Devin Siebold on Instagram and Facebook and all that good stuff. Let's jump into the teachers in the news, shall we?
My favorite part.
All right, this one is such a weird one. I had to read this several times to quite understand it. There is a teacher in the UK that is fired, a female teacher that is fired and forced to apologize after saying, "Good afternoon, girls," to students.
Okay.
And I read the headline. I thought, this can't be possibly that cut and dry. That's stupid. There has to be something else. Well, apparently, it's not. There was a teacher in the UK that was pressured by students to apologize after she misgendered them. Now, the students were 11 years old. They are at an expensive private school. And apparently, when the teacher welcomed them into the classroom, she said, "Good morning, girls," at the beginning of a lesson. Now, some of the students said not everyone here identifies as a female, and apparently they wanted different pronouns to be used and apparently protested this teacher. They held a lunch protest, made placards with the signs "Trans Lives Matters," and embarrassed her. Disciplinary process had already been held basically in her dismay, not her favor.
Okay.
And apparently she was told she's being let go. Now, this is the thing. I sat there and I thought, oh, well, maybe these kids said we have different pronouns. They want to be identified as this.
And she refused. Yeah.
James, this happened at the prestigious Girls' Day School. It is a school for girls.
Huh.
And the students were arguing that they weren't girls and they wanted to be gendered as boys.
Gotcha.
But should they be at the girls' school? And if it's a girls' school and you're a female teacher and you say, "Good morning, girls," I don't think that there's a negative connotation to that.
If
it's at a girls' school.
Yeah, if it's a scenario
if
where
I teach at a boys' school and say, "Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning, boys,"
seems okay. Yes.
I wouldn't think that there's a negative connotation by it. To me, when I read the article, to be perfectly honest with you, maybe there's some information I'm missing. It seemed like these students had this teacher targeted. Like they had something against her, so they found something to be mad about. I'm all for supporting trans rights.
Absolutely.
But this particular instance,
I don't
I'm
think
not
she was
sure
malicious.
that's what this is.
No.
I'm not sure this is a matter of respect. I don't think the teacher would have had any problem with it. But then again, they're teaching at an all-girls school, so I don't think there should be any issue there. If it really is truly a student that wants to be gendered as a boy, are we okay with moving them to a boys' school? Would you be, okay moving a young boy who wants to be gendered as a girl to an all-girls school? That's the interesting thing, because we haven't really talked about schools that are specifically one gender, but in the UK there are a lot of them.
And I've never thought of that, to be honest
All
with
girls
you.
schools, all boys schools. When I was growing up in Melbourne, FAA, Florida Air Academy, all boys school.
Oh,
all
that's
boys.
right. Yes.
Yep. And I remember I wanted to go there, and I was considering it, playing basketball there. Air Force didn't really enthrall me, so I kind of went the other way and just went to a private school. But, all boys, all girls school with this, with the gender
that's
preferences.
And as a father of a trans kid, that's a tough call.
It is a tough
That's
call.
a very tough call. Now, here's the thing, though. Only thing that I have an exception with, if that teacher knew they wanted different to be, they wanted to be called a different gender, and you did it to be spiteful.
Yes, if you
that's
did.
the only time I'd have a problem with that.
Right. Yep. I agree. But I mean, it being an all-girls school, I kind of don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know which direction that's going to go. I don't know which direction it's going to take. I don't know if that's something that needs to be brought before the courts to decide. It's one of those weird things where there's a lot of gray areas, apparently, that we're still finding out. There's a Sacramento teacher convicted by a judge on Friday of helping a runaway teenager hide for almost 2 years. Apparently, this person was sentenced to a year in jail, 2 years probation, and said that apparently a 15-year-old teenager ran away and went missing in May 2020 and then abruptly reappeared recently. And apparently the teenager had ran away and was hiding at the teacher's house where his girlfriend lived. His girlfriend lived with the teacher, and apparently she continued to hide him and let him stay there for 21 months until he finally returned home.
Why would the teacher do it?
I don't know. It doesn't say. I mean, there might have been some where you go,
yeah,
I'm coming from a terrible home life. This is, things I'm going through.
Abused.
Yeah. And the teacher tried to do the right thing maybe, but
in the wrong way.
Not yet in the wrong. That's right. Right thing in the wrong way.
Yeah.
So I don't know the situation, but this clearly wasn't a love triangle. This wasn't anything other than maybe a teacher thinking they're providing safe harbor to a kid that maybe said they were going through some stuff.
It
couldn't have possibly been just, I want to be with your daughter, let me live here, because then you wouldn't lie to the police.
Yeah.
You'd say, yeah, they're here,
Yeah.
They lied to the police over and over again.
Yeah, if something was going on where the kid was abused, wouldn't that teacher go to the police?
You would think, but sometimes that stuff does not always work out. Yeah. I mean, to be honest with you, I'll tell a personal story on that respect. My friend, when I was in middle school / high school, his name was Antonio.
Okay.
And he was a good guy, good as good gets. Nicest kid in the world. We played basketball together. We were good buddies. And I will never forget, I woke up one morning and my friend called me and they're like, dude, Antonio shot and killed his father. And I was like, no. I was like, not Antonio. No way. And I remember going to the trial and sitting in the courtroom and not knowing, what the situation was. And the judge actually listened to the whole thing. We listened to the whole thing. I testified in court. Basketball coach testified to Antonio, his good character. He's a good guy. What happened? What went wrong? Turns out the police had been called to Antonio's house like over 20 or 30 times. Antonio's father had been abusing the mother, had been physically like beating the children, drugs rampant in the house. He was trying to defend, he had a younger sister, trying to defend the younger sister, trying to defend mom, seeing mom get beat up, seeing the cops come and not do anything over and over again. He said after dozens of times of the police showing up and saying, we can't protect your mother, he said, I need to protect my mother. Wow. And he took it into his own hands, grabbed his father's gun, shot and killed his father. So the judge, believe it or not, the prosecution was seeking the minimum. The judge went below the minimum and gave him 10 years, and I think he was out in 7. Life sentence possibly. It was homicide. It was premeditated.
Yes.
And the judge specifically said, I've listened to everything, and we failed you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he was like, the system failed you.
Phew.
So, again, I don't know this particular
I don't
story.
either.
All I'm saying is sometimes, the home life, you think a simple call to the police is what it needs. As a teacher, we hope that social services will get involved, but a lot of times social services does not take the full situation into account. They have, red tape that they have to get through in order to actually protect the child. And it's a shame, It is a shame. But Antonio's out, doing good,
God
making
bless,
good choices, So, all right, next one. This is a great story. This is a former teacher has decided to start raising money for a project in Tanzania.
Okay.
10 years ago, a school teacher went to Tanzania, visited a school there, saw the conditions that they were in, and decided, hey, they need help. So the school teacher and their daughter started making things to try to raise money to contribute to that particular school. And then it turned into, let's collect aluminum cans and let's recycle them. And it became such a community-wide project that now they still wake up every day and there's cans on their front porch. People know where to take their cans.
Oh, nice.
And so they're taking their cans, and this teacher has collected all these cans and consistently given all the money to Project Zawadi, which is, I looked up Project Zawadi, and it's a U.S.-based charity that helps the Tanzanian children. Nice. Building schools, giving them books, giving them shoes, things that provide clean water systems for the classrooms. People forget, like you take US, you just go to the water fountain. I mean, sure, it's probably the same water quality as Tanzania. I've seen the mold growing around the mouth. Yeah. But regardless, we have moderately potable water that we can drink, Yeah. And some students, some kids walk up to 5 miles a day to attend school in Tanzania, because it's not like they just build a bunch of schools. And these kids, if you don't attend school, your future is grim.
Bleak.
Yeah, because there's not a lot of people literate in some of these areas. So the chance to become literate is a big priority.
And those kids are motivated, highly motivated to go to school, man.
Yes.
5 miles.
Here, it's a casual thing to go to school. Over there, it's such a privilege.
It is.
Such an amazing thing that they get this opportunity. So Project Zawadi, if you're interested, you can support it. You can donate as well. But shout out to that teacher for donating and for being so passionate about it, and also changing. A lot of these people, they go overseas and they take these mission trips and things, and they see these environments and they turn it into an Instagram story and forget about it.
Yeah.
Look at me with the poor people and done.
Yeah, done.
This one actually said, no, I'm gonna.
They went back and did something about it.
Yep. All right. This next one, James, I love you, man. Students at Kanye West School were apparently not allowed to learn about the Holocaust, a former teacher claims. That's weird. That wouldn't align with anything that he's possibly said.
Not at all.
But anyways, students at Kanye West School not allowed to learn about the Holocaust. Apparently, she said students were at least 2 years behind in math, were not allowed to watch anything made by Disney. And apparently she's suing the school district for wrongful termination. Also, I read previously, did you read about their food?
No.
So apparently these kids in his school, have you ever seen pictures of the school, by the way?
I have not.
So it just looks like a weird science experiment. Like, it looks so depressing, this school. And these kids are in, his academy.
Yeah.
And their curriculum's so tight, so weird, but they have sushi every day for lunch. And the kids that don't like sushi don't eat. There's no alternatives to sushi and rice. It's all only sushi.
Every day.
Every day. Sushi and soy sauce.
Oh, man.
I'll be honest with you, that I mean, it's just like,
what do you say?
It's just exhausting to read about Kanye now.
It is.
But apparently, he's faced a lot of backlash for, the school. Apparently, the school is behind. There's restrictions on his curriculum beyond history and race. They're not allowed to watch anything Disney, Pixar, not permitted to go see the Nutcracker. They tried to do a trip to go see that, said no.
No.
So anyways, it's just, you sit there and you read about it, and this Donda Academy is apparently not doing well. No. There's a number of lawsuits and sushi only menu, and
all the kids have a high level of mercury in their diet.
Yeah. She's, apparently she said that there was a sushi only menu, and when she raised concerns to the principal, was told this is what Yi wants.
Oh, and ye shall have it.
Yes. Well, ye can eat it because I'm not eating sushi every day.
Exactly.
Well, which, by the way, honestly, mercury poisoning explains a lot of what he's done lately.
Yes,
Does it not?
does.
Now it's all making sense. The guy's been eating tuna out of the South Pacific every day.
Oh, my gosh.
All right. Life skills. Teacher is challenging the legality of an audio recording. This one, man, I don't know. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this one. There was apparently a student that was coming home from school, and the mom noticed a demeanor change and thought that the teacher maybe had something going on in the classroom. There was something that was happening, and apparently gave the student a voice recorder to secretly record the class and what the teacher had to say. Now, during that, there was a lot of things that were said. It wasn't just the teacher, but apparently there was some bullying. There was things that were said that were terribly mean, and the teacher is now being punished by it.
Wow.
The teacher is challenging it, saying, hey, I didn't opt to any voice recordings in my class. You know, you can't just bring in something and record me secretly without consent. What do you think?
I'm going to say something from my personal thing. I'm going to share it with you like
Sure.
you did with your friend. I've always been a jovial kind of guy. You know me. I'm happy-go-lucky. I'm usually smiling and laughing or trying to make people do the same. There was a shift in me. I want to say it was when I was in 7th grade. I started coming home quiet. I would go to school quiet, and my mom noticed something was wrong. I had an experience with a teacher that was bullying me.
Bullying you?
Yes,
Oh, really?
Like she was making me feel, pointing me out in class, making me the object of ridicule, and just did not treat me well.
Right.
The rest of my teachers were. Like I was having a good time with everybody else, but it completely changed my personality. So as a parent, and I see my kid come home that way, I want to do something about it. I want to know why my kid, who is usually happy, is not having a good time anymore. So I would want that recording.
Oh, you would want a recording?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because here's the thing. That recording, I don't know how legal it is, but we found out something was wrong. We
Yes.
found out something was going on.
Oh, sure.
How else would I do that? Because then it becomes he said, she said. So what do we do at that point?
Yeah, I agree.
So
Yeah.
I would want to know. You know, our job as parents is to protect our kids, keep them safe. And
Yep.
when there's something wrong with them, there's something wrong with us. We want to make sure and get them feeling better ASAP.
Yep. I had a teacher call me stupid in 3rd grade.
Wow.
And when the teacher called me stupid.
Bro, that is
when the teacher
not
called me
okay.
stupid, my mom found out. When I told my mom, my
Yes.
mom went down there and just
Rose hell.
ended that teacher's career.
Yes.
She was no longer teaching there. She was moved to like a support position. They pulled her out of the classroom and put somebody else in.
And why would you ever call a student that?
Yep.
Come on.
But I mean, I didn't even have to record it. It was just, hey, and I think she admitted to it, said, yeah, I got a little angry and called him stupid. But, you know, that kind of stuff you obviously don't want in class. The legality of the recording,
Besides the point. Like, but
I guess as a teacher, I would be more embarrassed that I said something like that.
see, that's the funny part too. The teacher's upset that, hey, I never said you could record me, not, hey, I'm sorry.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
That tells me a lot.
Wow, I messed up.
Yeah.
You're right. I'm listening to it now going, I shouldn't have said stuff like that. Not, hey, how'd you get that? You know, that's not illegal.
Hey, wait a minute. That's not admissible.
I mean, I also get it that she's probably trying to fight for her career and not be, you know, broke and without a job. But,
I guess.
But I wouldn't welcome her back in the classroom.
Yeah, you shouldn't be around kids.
No, absolutely not. Now, this is an interesting story out of California. California usually a bastion for teacher pay raises and looking after education. We always see good stories out of California, some negative, you know, housing crisis and things like that.
Yes.
But retired teachers in California are not happy right now because thousands of retired teachers in California are facing a hefty bill from the state's teacher retirement agency due to miscalculations. Apparently, the Supreme Court declined last month to hear a case brought by 27 teachers, and they were apparently suing the retirement system because the retirement system apparently overpaid them. Guess what? Some of those retired teachers are asked to pay back bonuses, teaching summer school bonuses, extras that basically were miscalculated as their pay. And they were paid out in a retirement chunk. And guess how much they're asked to being paid back?
Per teacher or
Per
as a
teacher.
group?
Over $100,000 they're wanting back.
Per teacher? There's no way.
Yeah, the retirement system apparently overpaid them. Some teachers owe more than 6 figures. They have literally had to pay for their mistakes. Apparently, the district said they're individuals who did what they were supposed to do. They sat down with the counselor. They checked with the district to make sure the data was correct. The district did confirm that's how much they were supposed to get paid. And then apparently the district later on came back and said, oh, sorry, we miscalculated. You owe us all that money back.
Okay, wait. If they did what they were supposed to, sat down with the county, and the county said this is what you're supposed to get, then they get it. And now you say it's a miscalculation. I'm sorry, that is on the county.
Yeah,
that is not on that teacher.
They would have to contact me at my new New York address. Actually, I have fled the state. I have.
You'd have to catch me at my mobile office in Aruba.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I'm in the Canary Islands. I'm sorry, I don't have a bank account here.
Yeah.
I don't know who you overpaid, but anyways, you'll have to talk to my butler.
That's right. Jeeves.
100,000, man. Which, by the way, I don't even think if I retired, at age 64 or whatever we're at now, I don't think I would ever get $100,000 back from the Florida State retirement system. All right. This last one, a woman shares how her kindergarten teacher inspired her to be an artist. Now, we just had Teacher Appreciation Week, and teachers obviously need to be appreciated. This one apparently went on TikTok, and she posted an old picture of a drawing and said, this is my drawing my kindergarten teacher saw and said, you are going to be an artist when you grow up. And then she posted the new picture that she drew of that exact rose, and it is, I'm talking photorealistic.
Stunning.
Yes, absolutely. And so this kindergarten teacher encouraging, she posted it apparently to Instagram and said teacher inspired her to become a painter, and the video went viral, and she did receive a reply from her teacher. And so apparently the teacher reached out and was very grateful and was so thankful and did remember her, and awesome. Said that she wrote that the teacher reached out to her, is proud of her, and said, way to go. So, it's crazy, but teachers, man, when you're 6, and you're 7 and you hear those words, that you're going to be this or you're going to be that, or that you have, hope. I still remember 6th grade, I was in a creative writing course, and I'll never forget my teacher let me write and let me make jokes and let me just get so creative on my stories.
Beautiful.
And I was a kid who just wanted to be creative. I was begging, let me write creatively. And she gave me so much liberty and always reviewed my things and was like, this is awesome. This is amazing writing, and I wanted to one up myself every time. I was like, I got to be more creative. I got to come up with something new. And then here I am, a creative content creator. I'm literally creating stuff.
You are,
man. I specifically remember that particular teacher encouraging me on being creative. From then on, I wrote poetry. I have numerous books of poetry that I wrote as a kid. I wrote short stories, and then eventually got into writing humorous anecdotes and top 10 lists for an old blog that I had, and eventually worked my way into comedy. I mean, I can't stress enough, if I didn't have that teacher in my life, I don't know that my direction still would have been the same.
That's amazing.
Did you have teachers that you can remember like that?
Absolutely, man. I'm glad we get to actually talk about the teachers that meant something in our lives.
Of course.
I had great teachers growing up. I remember in 3rd grade, Miss Farmer always told me how funny I was. And it's like, man, you are so funny, James. And I would always crack everyone up. I was a class clown always, but I would always make my teachers laugh as well. So I look back at those times when she would tell me how funny I was and would tell my mom, who also worked at the school at that time.
Oh, nice.
How funny I was. And my mom's like, yeah, he's hilarious. But I remember those times, and it makes me appreciate that they told me that, because I don't think I'd even be doing comedy today if it wasn't for that little seed of encouragement saying, you are so hilarious.
We forget how much teachers mean in that respect.
Oh my gosh.
It's the outside person that sees something in you that really makes your life change.
And let me explain why that is. As a parent, as kids, we realize at our early age, our parents love us.
Yes.
And our parents are our biggest cheerleaders. We understand that's their job. So for us, of course, they're going to tell me I can do anything. Sometimes hearing it from another authority figure outside the home, it means a lot more. So I just wanted to say to all the teachers out there, congratulate them on the immense influence that you truly have on our kids. That's why it is so important to weed out the bad ones, and we need to uplift the great ones, man, because you guys are truly molding the minds of tomorrow. What you tell a kid today as a young kid has a lot to do with who they are later on in life. Yeah, so I've had some great teachers, not only in my life, but I've had some great teachers in my children's life that completely changed the game.
You had 3 kids, right? Go through the public school system, right?
Absolutely, yes.
And
Yes,
all
yes.
of them are very high achieving. I mean,
High achieving.
Yeah, so, I mean, obviously teachers had a role in that. I don't think it's genetic.
That's hurtful, but true. No, I mean, I can tell you as early as my son, Devin.
He's my favorite, by the way.
He is, I know, I understand.
Incredibly bright.
Yeah, he is.
Very handsome.
He actually, very bright. Let me explain
it's in
why.
the name. It's
Miss Gonzalez, a teacher that took Devin in because Devin was getting in trouble at school, like as early as first grade, second grade. He just wasn't performing. He was acting out, and we found out why. He was gifted. But no one saw it until he got to Miss Gonzalez. She says, this kid's acting out because he's bored.
it's like you're telling my story.
Here's one thing Devin did. One time he got frustrated at school, and a teacher told him, okay, Devin, you're acting up. You're not going to go to story time. And he wanted to protest. He loved story time because he loved to learn. So he decided to take all his clothes off and throw them at the teacher.
It's like you're telling my exact story. I'm just kidding. Yeah. That's
the kind of
a
things
way
he
to
did.
protest.
Yes, but that's the kind of things he did until he found the right teacher who took time with him. He said, Devin, you are a smart kid. She told him that.
Yeah.
Not you're a troublemaker, not you're bad, not that you're a disruption. She said, you're a smart kid. My son took that to heart. Devin never forgot Miss Gonzalez. My son Devin is such an academic that when he took his SAT, he had a perfect score on math. Not one thing wrong. Perfect, Devin.
That's ridiculous.
Let me explain. Devin is so smart. You remember about 2 years ago, John Hopkins, that team got with NASA, and they took the probe, and they wanted to see if they could actually crash it into the asteroid. He got hired by them.
Oh.
He's getting his master's on my birthday, May 5th, and he's already hired by them to come work.
Well, that's because they originally denied him the job, and he took his clothes off. And they were like, I'm getting this job. And
here's how the story comes full circle. Devin was asked by Miss Gonzalez to come talk to her students about achieving.
Amazing.
And he went back, and she said she bawled. Because my son Devin's a really good speaker, man. He's good at what he does. He's so smart. She bawled because she was that proud of that little kid that she told a long time ago, you're a smart kid. And he never forgot that.
No.
Bro, amazing. One more teacher that I want to give a shout out to. Mr. Connors is a teacher of Jack's. Now, Jack was in a school of the arts in Osceola, man, and Jack was really going through a tough time. Jack had anxiety. Jack was getting a little bit of bullying because Jack was going through a change.
Yeah.
Jack was realizing who he was, and he was transgender. So he came out to Mr. Connors. Mr. Connors, from the very beginning, was nothing but supportive.
Supportive, wow.
Jack had an episode because he has diabetes.
And that's a big deal, too,
That's
because that was
very big deal.
You have to understand that was a few years ago. That was before the kind of transgender push that you're seeing
now. This was when it was not popular at all. Not to say that it's popular now, but Jack was having some problems with health.
Is Jack like emo transgender? Like I was trans before it was cool?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. He's like Caitlin who?
Never heard of him.
Never. I love Jack, man. Shout out to you, Jack. But Jack has had some health issues at school. Jack has type 1 diabetes and celiac. So he can crash and have a really bad day as far as his sugar level. So one thing happened one day where his sugar dropped so low, they had to call the ambulance. Mr. Connors was so worried, he left school and went to the hospital with Jack in the ambulance.
Wow.
Jack never forgot that. When Jack came out as trans, he was accepting. He made the entire school. This is his name. His name is Jack. You don't call him Jack.
And you don't even know, but he was in the ambulance to get away from the other kids. He's like, I see a way out. Yeah, you know what? I'm supporting this child. I'm going to ride with him. You take over the class.
He was in there going, morphine. We need morphine. He's like, no, Jack doesn't need morphine. No, for me. I need morphine.
Please. 2 CCs. I don't even know what CCs are. Just give me them. All of them. I'll take all the C's. The D's, the F's.
So he was a pioneer to my kid.
Of course. Sounds
he was
amazing.
Jack's hero, and he's actually retiring. And he wrote me. That's why I'm bringing it up. He goes, I just want to tell you, the Yan family has a special place in my heart. You guys changed the way I look at being an educator and a parent because of how supportive you were when your son was going through such a tough time. You guys came to me and you showed me and told me about it, and I learned so much because we all learned at the same time. He goes, I'll never forget forget you guys. And he just wanted to say he's leaving and retiring. He'll never forget us and always keep in touch. So I just wanted to say, Mark Connors, thank you so much for what you did for my son. He'll never forget you. You are a hero, not only to him, but all the kids that had you in school. So God bless you.
Yep. Teachers, I mean, honestly change lives and they don't even realize it. Yep.
And they don't want thanks. To them, the payment comes from seeing those kids like Miss Gonzalez saw my son do what he did later in life. That's all the thanks they want.
The good news is, too, is that, you can always tell a great teacher by a teacher that not only changes lives, but lets students change their lives.
As well,
yeah, because you got to be able to take it in.
To give and take.
Seeing students that I've had that have been gay, trans, and seeing just their response by me honoring their requests, it instantly changes the dynamic of the classroom.
They light up.
Oh, they light up instantly.
Light up.
And guess what? Nobody else cares. Nobody else is bothered by it. It's not them. And that's the thing is it takes like a learning curve because I didn't know much about it. And so I had to ask them like, oh, so this is what you're going through. Okay. So how do I, better suit you? And, you do this and I say this and he instead of she. And also my name is this. And, here's if this comes out. Okay, all right, I'm learning.
That's right.
I don't know, and you're telling me how to act, so I'm going to go with it. And it's all about empathy and compassion for your fellow person.
Absolutely, it's not hard, man.
Yep.
Jack taught me a lot. Jack taught me that my diet's transgender.
Oh,
yeah, my burger identifies as a salad.
It does?
Yes.
Yes. Interesting. I never thought about it that way.
Tell your doctor that next time.
I suppose.
Yes.
Yeah. Type 1 diabetes. No, I identify as an athlete.
Nice.
Yeah, man. But that's great, man. And again, shout out to all those amazing teachers that are changing lives. You don't even know that you're changing lives half the time because, it says it takes years sometimes to see an impact.
See it come to,
yeah. Sometimes you just think it's a casual student and passing. It's the honoring of the pronouns, or the encouragement. You sit there and you go, "Great job! This is a fantastic essay." You don't know that person could be the next fantastic writer, the next Stephen King. You're changing through the encouragement and stuff. Yeah,
that's right. And I will say this: the kids, the students, will never forget.
No.
We will never forget.
No. Yeah. And we're seeing that too. My son has got a fantastic teacher now.
Good.
And he went from not liking school to loving school. And not only that, but never stops reading because his teacher said he was such a good reader. And so he's got to have all the books. He's a reader. He loves to read. And she said, I can read and I'm a reader. And it's those tags, those moments that, and they don't get that at home. It's like me. I'm like, reading is stupid. I'm just kidding. I never would say that. Yeah, but it's just one thing for me to see him every day, and I of course compliment him. And you're awesome and all that. It's in one ear out the other. It's dad being dad, standard encouragement. Yeah. But having somebody that's an authoritarian who knows the profession and knows it, that's the cool stuff.
Changes lives.
See. It does change lives. So shout out, much appreciation to all those teachers out there and the lives that they're changing. And who knows? You could be the next teacher that changes somebody else's life. Right. So keep it up. Thanks so much. Now, James, where can people find you, buddy?
You guys can find me on Instagram, of course, and Facebook. James Yon, comedian YON. Thank you guys for all the follows. I love you teachers out there. Please keep the support coming. Thank you guys for supporting this show. With you guys, we are becoming very successful and it just keeps getting better and better. So thank you.
Right. And one thing I'd like to say too before we end is do not hesitate to reach out to those students that you feel changed by, that changed you.
Amen.
Also, if you had an amazing teacher and they're still around, shout out to them. I mean, we need all the encouragement we can get for sure. And in your comments on this YouTube video or on the podcast, if you got a teacher that you'd like to give a shout out to, feel free to shout them out in the comments, and maybe we'll shout them out on a future podcast as well. Yeah. Follow me, devincomedy.com, all the Crying in My Car podcast stations that we have out there. Again, rate us 5 stars, and we thank you so much for supporting the podcast. We'll be back next week with another episode of Crying in My Car, a podcast for teachers. clips. There might be a clip up there. There might be a clip down there. If it's got our face, if it's other people's stuff, come back. Don't click on that, but us. Suggested things, that's us, Crying in My Car, Devin Siebold, James Yon, board teachers, watch. New trailer for Indiana Jones. No, don't do that. Don't do that.